How's everyone doing? Y'all doing? Y'all feeling okay? I can feel the energy. The energy is like, I don't know. I can just feel it like through the roof. Like I feel like y'all are just really excited to start this year off, and y'all aren't alone. I as well. I'm just excited to not just do this tonight, but to do more things like this, like all year long. Like this is setting the pace for what's to come for sure. But just to back up a second, I am attorney Jasmine Robinson, or Attorney Jazz for short, as a lot of people call me, and that's pretty much what I prefer to be called. So I'm Attorney Jazz. I'm a law school coach for my brand, Jazz Talks Law, if you are not already aware of that. I created Jazz Talks Law because, nationally speaking, we're only 5% in the legal profession. And when I say we, I'm referring to Black people, little brown people like me. We're only 5% nationally in the legal profession. And I had a huge problem with that. And it's been that way for at least 50 years. And when you think about things such as like the Black Lives Matter movement, when you think about just so many problems in society, I believe I'm creating a solution to help alleviate some of those issues. So I created Jazz Talks Law after I was a student at Mercer Law School, to be specific. But before I was a student at Mercer, I was just a little girl growing up in Richmond, Virginia, born and raised. So shout out to my people from Virginia in the chat. I always wanted to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be a big family law attorney because of my crazy family. And I do not shy away from that. Literally, it was like World War III growing up in my house. And I like wanted my parents to get a divorce. And they did. And almost everyone in my family has been divorced. And I just became really interested in family law, and more so just to make sure that children are protected throughout the divorce, because I think a lot of times it ends up being about what mommy and daddy wants instead of what's best for the children. So that's why I wanted to go to law school. I went to Hampton University, the best HBCU, the best college, period. No argument, no debate. Hampton University molded me into a Hampton woman, and I went on to attend Mercer Law. But of course, before Mercer Law, I had to take the LSAT, get ready for law school, all that good stuff. And being that I am the very first lawyer in my family, I had absolutely no one to turn to. Not Mercer, Hampton did have a pre-law advisor. But when you're one to, hundreds of other students who are trying to get into law school, it's not as helpful and productive as you would like it to be. So I didn't really have anyone to turn to. And as such, I did everything completely wrong. And looking back, I wish I had Jazz Talks Law. I wish I had me to coach me through the law school admissions process, because if I did, I feel like I would, not even I feel like, because I hate that. I hate to say I feel like. I know that I would have went to law school with full scholarship if I had Jazz Talks Law. But that's neither near here or there, What's done is done. I'm still here. I'm still a whole attorney, with my 144 LSAT, right? Yes, I said 144 LSAT. Passed the bar after first try, graduated law school with honors, like all that good stuff. So, regardless of if you're the first lawyer in your family, regardless of if you don't have the most help or haven't had the most help up until this point, because after today, that's no longer true. But regardless of, what your story may be, you can still go to law school, you can still kill it. And that's exactly what I did at Mercer. As a Mercer Law student, I went in like a little nervous just because of my LSAT score, but I had so much help. A main source of my help was Mercer's Black Law Student Association. And when I say they told me how to succeed, and I listened and I did exactly what they told me to do, I went on to graduate Mercer with honors, passed the bar after the first try, and then practiced family law. I did that for a short time period and realized that coaching future lawyers was where my heart was. And just to back up a second, my heart was with coaching future lawyers because while I was waiting on my bar results, so once you take the bar exam, there's in Georgia at least, there's like a 4-month period before you get your results. So while I was waiting on my bar results, I wasn't an actual attorney during that time frame. I was a recruiter for Mercer while I was waiting on my bar results. and I got to travel all over. Free traveling on Mercer, right? I traveled all over to different pre-law events, got to speak with future lawyers that looked just like me, and I got to look them in their face and say, yo, if law school, you can go to law school and you can do way better. I mean, I did really well, but you can do even better than me. So I fell in love with that, but then I went back to practicing once I got my bar results, and I just realized, like, this ain't it, Chief. Like, I just realized, like, it wasn't like law practice is like super hard or anything, but when you find your passion and you try to do something else, it's like, no matter how hard you try, you're just not going to enjoy it as much. So to make a long story short, I pursued Jazz Talks Law for a whole year. And in 2018, we did $800,000 in law school scholarships. Yes, $800,000 in law school scholarships. So we have a lot of future lawyers who are currently 1Ls in law school, and it's just amazing to see what Jazz Talks Law has done in like a 2-year time frame. So for a whole year, I only did Jazz Talks Law, and now I also do entrepreneurship law as well. So I do a lot of contract drafting, trademarks, copyrights, things like that. So that's a little bit about me. But go ahead and start dropping in the chat, like, why you want to go to law school, like 1 or 2 sentences. Like, I want to go to law school because I'm sick of all the Black people being killed and these white cops not being charged. I want to go to law school because my family's crazy. We've been through a lot of divorces, and my mother is not able to get child support from my father. Like, whatever. I mean, I want to go to law school because there are children being held in cages. I want to go to law school because people are not receiving their benefits they need because of our president. Whatever. All right, so I've had you guys go ahead and put in the chat why you want to go to law school. And I do that because when you are writing your personal statement, you have to be personal, right? Like, it's like, oh, okay. Personal, like, it's a personal statement. And a lot of people miss that. And I did too when I was a future lawyer. You miss the personal and personal statement. But more specifically, you want to be personal literally from the minute you start. So when you write your personal statement, you're gonna have your intro, which is your first chance to really expose your application to these schools that you're applying to. And hopefully what you guys have written for me will be helpful in crafting that opening. So, and that's the purpose of having you guys go ahead and jot down why you want to go to law school. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to talk briefly about just the overall structure of your personal statement, what that should look like. And of course, there'll be a Q&A at the end for anyone that has questions. And then I'm going to go through each response and help you guys craft the opening of your personal statement, because I know that's one piece that you guys struggle with the most. It's just like getting started. Like, how do I write a personal statement? How do I just get started with this thing, right? And then once we finish that, I have some tips that I'm going to give you guys. Just a list of tips that I put together that are all listed in my personal statement workbook. And I'm going to get through as many of them as possible. And for those, I'll just go ahead and put it out there. Why wait? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the intro, like I said, a little bit about some tips and advice that I have. But everything that you need is in this workbook, personal statement workbook. I mean, it's filled with a lot of good stuff. Like, I mean, I can't really go through all of it, but it's a really good workbook. But to get started, let's just talk about the intro. Let's just talk about the overall structure of your personal statement. So your personal statement consists of your opening / the theme that you want to give your personal statement. And that's typically like 1 paragraph. And then you're going to tell your story. So that's anywhere from 2 to 3 paragraphs. And then after that, you're going to talk about why you want to go to law school, where some of this is also, some of your comments are going to also come into play. And then you're going to talk about why you want to go to each individual law school, which is a key. Like, a lot of times you guys miss out on really addressing each school. So if you are applying to 5 schools, then you should have 5 different personal statements, essentially, because the reasons you want to go to Mercer are different from the reasons you want to go to Harvard, right? So, and then of course the conclusion, which, you know, I don't want you guys to put too much pressure on yourself. I think some people freak out with their conclusion, but you'll see in the workbook that it's actually really simple to write your conclusion. All right. So for your opening, you want to grab their attention. Literally, if you put yourselves in the shoes of a law school recruiter, they're reading, you know how many personal statements? Anyone want to guess? Like, let's take a school like Howard, right? A lot of people want to go to Howard, right? So can you just guess how many people is applying to Howard, and as such, how many personal statements, like a board of like maybe 5 to 10 people are reading, like that, at least 1,000, like, and I can guarantee you at least half of those personal statements are boring. And it's like, but they have to read them. And it's like, like, I don't like this. I'm just sick of hearing the same old stuff, the same old SVU, the same old Nelson Mandela quotes. You know, I'm just over it. And then once they get to that one personal statement where it's just like, oh, okay, like, I'm actually excited to read this. Like, I'm getting some energy back, you know, I'm starting to like where she's going with this. So for example, one of my clients, the opening of her personal statement, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, I sat in the hospital room with my mom as she died from a crack addiction. Yeah. Like, what? What did you just say? Like, you said where? Your mama what? Like, it was like this, like, literally she was that bold. Like, she had the audacity, which is low-key becoming my favorite word for 2019. She had the audacity to just go there, literally with the first sentence. And of course, everyone doesn't have that story. Like, literally another one of my clients, the first sentence of her personal statement was something like, you know, growing up, I was always a crybaby, but now I realize that I'm going to cry my way to and through law school, and it's going to be okay. Like, something like that. And it's like, oh, okay, we crying? Like, what? You know, like, it's just like, there's something a little bit off guard that just gets their attention. Because like I said, they're reading so many personal statements. So if they can come across something that they really enjoy reading, they're going to give you a harder look. And not just that, they're going to give you a harder look even if your LSAT or your GPA requirements aren't exactly what they require. So for my personal statement workbook, I named it From Maybe to Yes, your law school personal statement workbook, because I honestly believe and know that, you know, a personal statement can really make that difference. Like, let's say, like me, you have a 144 LSAT and you're trying to get into a school that has a median of a 152. Let's say your GPA is like really high, 3.8, 3.9, 4.0, whatever, but there's 144. But then you write this really good personal statement and they are in love with you. And now they're willing to give you a shot because they're like, you know what? Even though she has a 144, we really like this girl. Like, this personal statement just, you know, tugged at my little heartstrings. So, you know, now they're willing to give you a chance. And that is the goal of your personal statement, for it to speak louder than your LSAT and your GPA can, because those are just numbers. But your personal statement is the opportunity to really, your personal statement is your interview. Because as most of you probably already know, most people don't get interviews after they submit their applications to law school. All right, so let's dive into these openings. I feel like I've explained this enough already. This is probably the part you guys are waiting for. So let's start with, I'm scrolling all the way up here. Okay. Right. Okay, here we are. Okay. Okay, Aaron said he always wanted to be a civil rights attorney. Okay, great. Why? Why did you always want to be a civil rights attorney? Like, what happened? Like, what experience did you witness? What happened in the world that made you say, that ain't right? Like, you know, you got to be way more specific than that. Like, imagine if you were in the elevator with like a famous judge and they say, oh, why do you want to go to law school? Like, do you think, yeah, I always wanted to be a civil rights attorney works? Or do you think, you know, I am just sick of X, Y, and Z. And I figured going to law school would help me change that, would be a better conversation starter, the latter. So that's 1. 2, and I'm literally just going to go through these one by one. And if you have questions as I go through them, go ahead and, you know, list those out. But I really want to try to get through every single one of them. So y'all bear with me. Let me get a sip of water. Don't laugh at my big water jug. All right. For entertainment, intellectual property law, this is from Ashley. I think so. It's just showing me the abbreviations. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Maybe not. Okay. For entertainment, intellectual property law, I want to work in the music industry to help all of our favorite artists, LOL, both up and coming and A-list. Okay, so with that one, I would say dive deeper, and you're probably going to see that's going to be a trend of my responses. So like for your personal statement, I would start with something like giving a legit example. So maybe there's an artist, you know, like maybe, I don't know, let's just use your cousin. Maybe your cousin was like a really good up and coming artist and he got into the hands of like a really like slimy like manager, producer or something like that who like stole all his rights to his music or like something crazy like that. And maybe that's the story, maybe that's not. Like I'm just literally like just going off the top of my head, but you know, I would literally go there, literally opening sentence, like, it's, and maybe even because I've recognized that I feel like minority up and coming artists get taken advantage of a lot more often. So maybe saying something like, all across the nation, there are brilliant up and coming artists, but more and more often they are getting taken advantage of. As an attorney, I will end this cycle. Like something like that, like, oh, okay, how we ended this cycle, sis? Like, what we doing? Like, you know, like something like that just gets you going. Okay, the next one, to speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves. So it's funny, I hear this all the time, like, you know, be the voice for the voiceless, speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves. Okay, that's great. That's cute. That's nice. But what does that mean? Like, how are you going to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves? I mean, you can do that whether you are a lawyer or not. So, you know, let's get way more specific. Does that mean you're going to represent defendants who, you know, are in jail, who, you know, can't really be a voice for themselves? Like, does that mean working for immigrants who are trying to get access to our country? Like, what does that really mean? Does that mean working on the behalf of a battered wife who was literally scared out of her mind to speak up? Like, what does that mean? We got to get way more specific. I want to go to law school because I am tired of seeing child stars not protected in the entertainment industry. So like, as I said to the 2 comments above, give me an example of that. Give me a scenario, something that you can really just dive into in your opening of your personal statement. And this is also a great time to say that networking starts now. So you two already have something in common. For some reason, I can't see y'all full name, but this one, Nan, and the other one starts with Ash. So you two already have something in common. So a slide in the Zoom DM or something. I don't know if that's even possible, but I'm just saying networking starts now. Y'all can help each other because we are not contributing to that crab and barrel mentality. All right, now I can see. Nakia, I want to go to law school to give children in the system a second chance at life. Okay, great. So how are you going to do that? Like specifically, you could be in education law, you could be in juvenile law. I mean, there's so many avenues you could take that to. So once again, let's be a little bit more specific. So let's say you can think of an example where someone wasn't given a second chance, and maybe you tell a story of how it would have went if you were their attorney, like something like that. So let's say your opening is something like, if I was, I'm trying to think of a name. If I was DJ's lawyer, I would have made sure that when charged with theft, the judge would have known that he was also dealing with homelessness, and he was abandoned by his family, like something like that. And if I represented him, he would not have been sentenced to 10 years as an adult, whatever. Like something like, just like getting to the point, like, oh, DJ did what now? Like, you know, like really just go there with it. All right. Okay, Kristen, I always wanted to be a lawyer since I was a little girl. Oh, that's so sweet. Y'all, if I had $1 for every time I've heard that sentence, oh my gosh, I would be rich. Like rich, like Meek Mill said, like rich, like I would be rich. Okay, why? Like, why have you always wanted to be a lawyer since a little girl? Same, sis, but the reason why I always wanted to be a lawyer since I was a little girl is because of my crazy family, because it was like World War III, like drama, fights, like all types of stuff. Like, I just like put it out there. The good thing about your personal statement is just you and your pen, or you and your laptop. And guess what? When you submit it to each law school, you are anonymous. So literally you have free reign. You don't have to worry about nobody knowing your business. Like, be very personal, and don't say since you were a little girl. Like, just don't say that. I wanted to go to law school because I lost my father to a head injury on his job. Dang, you never got legal. Oh, dang, I can't see your full name, Joh. First, condolences for sure, but you have a lot of motivation, and I know that'll be your motivation while you're in law school. But I would literally open up with that, like, this is personal. Like, I lost my dad because we didn't have legal counsel, and I don't want any other family to experience what we did. That's why I'm becoming an attorney. Like, y'all, like, be yourself. Like, really, like, yo, like, this is about changing lives. Like, I mean, I think that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. So the next one, NAT. I want to go to law school because we need Black representation in a system that affects all of our lives. Agreed. But as earlier, so what does that mean? Like, in which area? Because as I'm sure y'all know, within the Black representation in the legal field, that can mean so many different things. So that can be in the criminal field, that can be in business law, that can be in juvenile law, family law. So, you know, like, let's get a lot more specific. After my daughter suffered a stroke at 3, I realized having a foundation and support can help a person flourish to their greatest potential. Wow. Man, oh man. I mean, I don't know the full details. I mean, I hope your daughter's okay. Like, I mean, I don't know the full details, obviously, but having a foundation and support, and of course, like, when you're going through a traumatic experience like that, you know, having potentially an attorney that you could turn to just to help you through that, to make sure your child's rights, you know, regarding like health law rights, aren't being taken advantage of, or just to make sure that a doctor or someone who did something they shouldn't have, seeks who, faces the repercussions of that. It's very important to be able to have someone in your corner, such an attorney, who you can turn to. I mean, as attorneys, we are counselors, we are someone that you turn to say, I have this problem. This happened to my child. And it's like, I don't know what to do, so definitely. I wanted to go to law school because I actually had the same vision as you as a kid. Being a family law, okay, you can work with CASA, cool. So for you, I would just tie that to whatever experience you had growing up that involved the family law part of the law. Okay. I want to go to law school to set up my great-grandchildren for extended generational wealth in business and real estate. So I guess you're saying you want to go into business law and real estate law and maybe do some investing in things that are more beneficial when you have a legal background that can then lead to benefiting your great-grandchildren. Okay, got it. Okay, so for this one, I wouldn't say I want to go to law school for my great-grandchildren. I would talk more so about the business and real estate piece of that. So why do you first off, let me say this. Don't go to law school for money. It's not to say that you're not going to get money. It's not to say that you aren't going to get this corner office making $200,000-$300K a year. I'm not saying that. But if you go to law school just for the salary or whatever, you're going to be miserable. And that's a fact. Because I know a lot of people that are miserable lawyers right now, but they make buku money. But I would really dive into why you want to do business and real estate. All right, next one. I want to go to law school to protect children from being tried as adults and to protect juveniles from the criminal justice system. Yeah, that's a big one. They have the whole pipeline to prison. And that is something, I would maybe use to open up with, when I become a lawyer, the pipeline to prison is going to be on the decline. I'm going to change the perspective that we have on our Black girls and boys versus our white boys and girls or Asian boys and girls, whatever. Really just diving straight into that would be really, really good. I wanted to go to law school because I'm tired of children of color in schools being discriminated against. Yes. I'm tired of Black people dying with no justice. Whew, at least. So I want you to look into the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education Civil Rights Division. I did an internship with them. What year was that? Real year? I think it was before my third year of law school. Yeah. I did an internship with them, and I got to investigate a lot of discrimination cases that were happening within schools. So my first question for you would be, is that something that you experience? Is that something that, or someone very close to you experience? And if so, I would start with that. And then of course, tired of Black people dying with no justice? Absolutely. That's a no-brainer. I want to go to law school because the best representation is by someone that looks like you and understands the true needs for equal representation. Absolutely. I say all the time that when you are creating a relationship in a professional manner with anyone, whether it's a psychologist, a lawyer, a doctor, in any setting like that, naturally you're going to just feel a little bit more comfortable with those who you, in your mind, feel like you can relate to more. And a lot of times we think that we can relate most with those who look like us. And I think we all in some ways think that. So if I was, God forbid, on trial for something and, my lawyer walks in and they got hair like me, they look like me, you know, I may just gravitate to them a little bit more. I may be more willing to talk to them versus if they didn't look like me. And that may be because of where I come from. So, you know, I went to predominantly Black schools my whole life. And when I went to Mercer, you know, being that was my first time being the minority in the classroom, I was like, just a little bit taken back. And it sucks to say that even, you know, in the last 10 years that people still feel that way, but it's the truth. So, you know, having representation by someone that looks like you is definitely important. And I think it should be, I don't want to say it should be illegal, but I want to say it should be more of the standard to have someone that understands you and your background. Excuse me. Okay, Sheree, I want to be a part of the 5% to help lower the incarceration percentage from 70. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of something for your opening. Oh, so I posted this on my Instagram yesterday. Well, yeah, yesterday I said, imagine if every family had a lawyer. Like, literally, let's just think about that. Can you imagine that for a second? Like, every family with a lawyer. Like, would the plea bargains be what they are? Would people be even going to trial, meaning their cases would get dismissed more? Like, if every family had a reliable lawyer, oh man, like that is Jazz Talks Law's goal. That is what I am striving for. Because as of right now, if anyone in my family gets in any type of trouble, or maybe it's, you know, they need me for a good reason, they're gonna call me and I'm gonna talk to them. So, I mean, you're definitely needed, Sheree. I want to go to law school for social justice and do domestic violence law pro bono. Okay, that's a twist on that. So I did domestic violence during law school as well. I worked at a nonprofit that helped individuals get temporary protection orders. So it's a great idea for you when you're in law school as well. You want to go to law school for social justice. What does that mean to you? What does social justice mean to you? I mean, that's kind of broad. So I want you to dive into that and be a little bit more specific. But with the domestic violence things, I wonder where that came from, because the reason I wanted to help, the reason I did an internship with, you know, a domestic violence nonprofit while in law school is because I witnessed domestic violence growing up. And I know the ramifications of that. So that was why I wanted to do that. But I need to know why you want to do that. Okay. I want to go to law school to help sex trafficking victims. Ooh, this is a very touchy subject right now, as I'm sure y'all know. So for you, I would, I'm trying to think of the best way to approach this one. I think a big thing right now is people need to feel comfortable enough to speak up when things happen. And I see you being that voice that helps people speak up. So I could see something along those lines just to get that intro going. All right, I have to speed through the rest of these ones, and I have a lot more left. I wanted to go to law school ever since I was a high school student, make a change. As I said earlier, you gotta be way more specific than that. That's like saying, since I was a little girl, like that's be way more specific. International human rights. I come from a third world country, so I like to help how I can in places with similar problems. Cool. So, but what does that mean? So you come from a third world country. So what are some differences you know about your third world country and where you are currently? Like, what are some things you wish were available there that aren't here and that you can bring to that country as an attorney or that you can assist with or whatever. Like, you know, just dive, like literally dive into some of like the problems. And that doesn't mean you have to address them all, but like maybe one thing that, you know, if only I was an attorney and I could change blank, like use that for your opening. Okay, I want to go to law school because I feel like it's my way to help people. Yes, of course. Once again, dive in. Like, you got to be way more specific than that. You want to help people, but the thing is, you can help people as a lawyer, doctor, nurse. You can help people as a social worker. You can help people as a bus driver. Like, there's so many ways to help people. So literally, that's not enough. And I strongly advise against just saying, because I want to help people. Like, okay, who doesn't? Like, I mean, so specifically, like, how are you going to help people? I want to go to law school because I want to help bring justice to families who experience death via gun violence. So that definitely hits home for me. When I was in high school, a guy I was dating, he got gunned down outside of a house party. So if I could go back, that is definitely something I should have talked about. And I don't know if you have an experience just like that, Raven, but, you know, I would literally open up with that, like whatever happened. I want to go to law school because I want to help people who are experiencing injustice beyond their control. Okay, like if you said that to me out loud, I'd be like, oh, what do you mean? Like, what kind of injustices? Like, just dive in a lot deeper. Okay, I want to go to law school to first observe the underrepresentation crisis, the current methods used to address them, representation, litigation, and how to underrepresented speak. Okay, so this is not, I don't really feel like I know you. I think it's Emily. So observe the underrepresentation crisis and what current methods are to address them. And then you have correction in parentheses. I would not say that to anyone. Fight in the trenches of representation, litigation. So you want to be a litigator. Why do you want to be a litigator? Why do you want to file lawsuits? Like, where does that come from? And third, address the issues of how the underrepresented can speak policy and continued career. So it sounds like you maybe want to get into some policy writing. Why? Where does that come from? Like, what kind of policy? You know, like, we have to be way more specific. And another thing, don't feel like y'all have to use big words or flowery languages, you know, like all that type of stuff. Like, you can just be straight to the point. You can be yourself. Of course, make sure your grammar, your spelling, all that is good. But don't feel like you have to say it a certain way. You have to like cross all your T's and dot all your I's. Of course you do, because that's grammar, or spelling. But you get what I'm saying. The reason I want to attend law school is because my brothers are always in trouble and never receive the proper attention they need. And that's what made me want to go to law school. Wow. Tyler. So I don't know if you mean like more so on the educational law side or the criminal law side, but either way, I imagine there was at least one incident that really kind of like broke your heart that you probably didn't feel like was fair towards your brothers. And I would maybe open up with that. Another quick piece of advice for you guys is, I said this kind of earlier on, but whenever you are starting, well, when you are writing a personal statement, you know, keep the focus on you. And that's not to say that someone else may come up in your opening, but that's it. So if your opening happens to be about some experience that you witnessed that, you know, involved your brothers or whatever, and that's like what you're using to hook them in, fine. But once we get down to the body of your personal statement, we ain't talking about brother no more. We talking about you, you know, so that's that on that. I want to study family and juvenile law. Okay, so Tatiana, once again, give me an example, give me like an experience, like something maybe you personally went through, like just, you know, like diving way deeper. Crazy family, same. Horrible experience as a teenager, same. And wanted to work in sports and entertainment after seeing my friends misrepresented all over the place. LOL. It's okay, Brittany. So it sounds like you want to go to law school for two different reasons. And this brings up another good point. A lot of people, you know, they feel like, well, I want to go to law school for this, but I also want to go to law school for that. Don't feel like you necessarily have to address both. So, for example, maybe you feel like you can back up and talk more about your experiences as a teenager more than you can talk about your friends being misrepresented, or maybe the other way around. So I would just pick one to focus on. Of course, you got plenty of reasons why you want to go to law school, but you only have to focus on one. And as I've been saying, the thing for our personal statement workshop today is really just diving in, getting really personal in your personal statement. Honestly, I feel like my thing at this point is if you don't cry at least one time while you're writing your personal statement, and I will say this as well, it doesn't have to be you're crying because something bad happened to you. Maybe you're crying because you're just like excited, or maybe, or I mean, not necessarily cry, but you should feel some type of emotion, something when you're writing this personal statement, you know, like, and just going back to what I just said, like, I don't want y'all to feel like you have to have this negative story, because everyone doesn't have a negative story. Like, everyone didn't come from the hood. Everyone, you know, didn't come from this bad experience. And if that's your story, that's okay. Like, I had one gentleman, he came from a really nice background, you know, raised in a nice community, went to private school. But his thing was, okay, I get to college and I realized everyone wasn't raised the same way that I was. But because of his upbringing and the connections that he were exposed to in his upbringing, he was then able to help others that didn't have the same exposures and things that he had access to. So he used his privilege in a sense to help others. So that's kind of like a tangent, but I don't want anyone to feel like, well, dang, I don't have my mama was a crackhead type of story. I remember when I was in a situation and a lawyer offered free advice that led to a breakthrough. How much did I give back? Okay, yeah, I think that's really good, Kristen. So, of course, when you're writing that opening, talk about that experience. Talk about that advice that lawyer gave you. Talk about, you know, how that gave you this like light bulb moment where it was like, wow, like I want to give someone the sigh of relief that this lawyer gave for me. Okay. I want to go to law school because minorities are being treated unfairly by law enforcement, and there are many more lawyers who are African-American women. Okay. So, I mean, my comments are pretty much kind of becoming redundant. So I'm just going to read through any of these just to see if there's any other points I feel like I need to make on any of these. But let me know, has this been helpful to help y'all just think through the direction of, you know, your personal statement, just to get started with it? Let me know. Want to help Black creatives profit more from their creativity? Yes, that's what I do. That's what I do. I help Black creatives profit more from the creativity. One way is through intellectual property. So that's really good. And I could really see you diving into that, Amira. Kristen, because I thought what I was experiencing was never going to end. Ooh, what does that mean? I want to know more. Okay. More representation law in government, constitutional law, civil rights law. Okay, so whenever someone says to me, best way for me to make an impact, help my community. Okay, how are you going to make an impact? How are you going to help your community? And that's not to say that you have to have it like all mapped out like from beginning to end, but just loosely, like, how are you going to do that? Are you going to do that as a criminal lawyer? Are you going to do that by hosting Know Your Rights seminars? Like, which is just like, what kind of idea do you have in mind to give that impact? I want to be a voice, mistreated minorities. Okay. Okay, someone said they want to go to law school. I think it was Latoya, to train her mind to think more analytically. You're definitely going to do that in law school, but that's kind of boring, to be I'm a very frank person. If you haven't, I just think I don't believe in cotton candy messages. You know, I think the truth is the most helpful, and I say everything I say with love. But that's just a little bit boring. I mean, you know, of course you're going to get that analytical juice, as I'll call it, once you're in law school. But you know, let's just talk more about what's really going on in the hood. Like you know, like let's just talk more and be more personal. Okay. I think this is Emily. I had a pre-law advisor tell me to do more research when I gave her my first draft. Okay. And then she said in parentheses, research into my person. Yeah, I don't really know what she means by that, but this would be a great time for me to mention that I do review personal statements, diversity statements, GPA, criminal, LSAT addendums. Like, I review all of those, and you can find out about all those services by visiting our website. You'll find more details about all of our document review service. Okay. I really want to get through all of them. Yes, Janika. So she says if she started about a personal story with her grandma in Jamaica and then get into how it made me who I am, would that be good? Absolutely. Just be very specific. Anything you've done. Sean Bell. Sean Bell, that name sounds very familiar. Aaron, can you refresh my memory, please? To be within the room, have a seat at the table. What kind of decisions? Like, so maybe what's a decision that was made that you're like, really? Like, they really missed the ball on that, right? Okay. I wanted to go to law school because I want to be a public defender. Tired of seeing people take plea deals because they feel like it's their only choice. Yes, absolutely. The problem is a lot of times people go into public defender positions for exactly what you said, and then they get like 60, 80 cases on their docket and they start getting overwhelmed. And then next thing you know, a year passed and they're like doing the bare minimum because they're just like, you know, over it because they don't have the resources, they don't have what they need. And that's a problem with the system, not with the public defender. What I will also say, sometimes the conversation comes up that we can do a lot more as a public defender than we can as the DA, than we can the public defender, because of course, as a DA, you have the opportunity to drop a lot of charges. And one of my good friends out of Chicago, that's exactly what he does. He said he'd be dropping charges left and right as a DA. So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, so Portia, I think I answered your question earlier about if you have multiple reasons and interests. You don't have to discuss them all, just focus on one. Valarja lost a close friend. Yeah, she lost a close friend, and that's why she wants to do juvenile law. So yeah, really dive into that. Erica, it's too long. I cannot read it. I am sorry. As a substance abuse program counselor, all-male prison. Woo. Wow. Woo. Yes, Glenda, dive into that. Talk about it, sis. Talk about those unfair sentencings between Black and white and other men. Like, talk about it, sis. Like, go straight into it when you start that personal statement. Erica, that's too long. Okay. Very helpful. Okay, good. I think my answer would have been different if I realized the person intro a little, but thank you. That's how. Okay, cool. Oh, yes. Okay, so Sean, wow, I said Sean. Aaron, I could definitely see you using that for your opening and maybe talking about, if you were his lawyer, what would you have done differently for him, or what would you have done differently as the DA in that case? Underrepresentation card says, okay, so... Okay, I'm the crisis in the sense of pro se litigants. Yeah. So Emily wants to help pro se litigants. And I could see you maybe hosting like some pro se like webinars or some courses or something for people who have to represent themselves. Levon, the person who mentioned that they want to become a lawyer because of human rights issues is, and they have a similar interest. Could you please look at you networking? That is awesome. Okay, guys. So that wraps up just our quick why do you want to go to law school session. I actually ran out of time. I wanted to go through in our personal statement workbook. You'll see towards the back, we have a whole list of golden advice that I wanted to go through with you guys, but we ran out of time, unfortunately. I think it was more important to get through your responses. So, I just went ahead and gave my attention there. Once you finish the personal statement workbook, y'all, you're going to be done with your personal statement. Literally, the workbook, as I think you guys saw, there's fill in the blanks. Like, you're literally working a workbook. Like, let me zoom in a little bit so y'all can see. Like, you're literally working a workbook. Like, I go over everything from creating your law school list. I go over why you want to go to law school in a lot more detail. I go over that structure that I mentioned at the beginning of this session. I go over your conclusion, literally the whole process of creating your personal statement. So once you finish the workbook, you'll literally have everything you need for your rough draft. And then if you want to work with me one-on-one to really get that personal statement geared to each law school, I would be happy to do that. I've already put the link for the personal statement workbook, and you'll also see the services tab for more information on our document review service. Because if you have any quick questions, like yes or no type questions, go ahead and type those in. Let me see. Janika, thank you for helping me feel more confident about my personal statement. No problem. Is digital copy printable, PDF, or like an ebook? Both. So you can print it and you can write in it directly, or you can type on it, which is really cool. So like a PDF. So you have complete flexibility with the digital copy. How long should a personal statement be? I try to keep between 2 and 3 pages. No longer than that, just simply because what happens a lot is people will write 4-page personal statements and it'll be amazing. And then they look at the schools that they're submitting it to, which they should know before they write their personal statement, but they don't because they don't have the workbooks. But they write this beautiful 4-page personal statement. Then they realize, this school only takes 2 pages, and then they're like stressed because they have to figure out how to skim it from 4 pages to 2. So my advice is to do no more than 2 to 3 pages because that's the requirement for a lot of schools now. Someone has a physical copy and they said it's definitely worth it. Thank you, I appreciate that. And Emily, exactly. It depends on the school how long the personal statement should be, but if you keep it between 2 and 3 pages, that pretty much puts you in the safe zone. Someone said they're purchasing it now. Great. I think Tiffany wants the physical copy, but she has a digital. Is it possible to be too personal? Yes. I don't see that too often, but I had, and it wasn't actually in her personal statement, but someone was writing a addendum to explain their GPA. They had a lot of medical problems that they needed to address. I mean, sis was laying out a lot of medical information that we ain't need to know. Like, I mean, she was really being like very explicit about, why, like what was happening when she was sick. And I mean, so that's an example of being too personal. Like, okay, sis, just tell us you got this disease or whatever. Like, we don't need to know about you throwing up and all this, like just telling us what you have is fine. Oh, how many pages is the workbook? This workbook is like 30 pages. Yeah, 30 pages. Yeah, you can type in the workbook. You don't have to print it. Can I start applying to law schools this summer if I'm going fall 20? Like I'm trying to do the calendar in my head. Yes. So if you do that, well, you can start preparing your applications. You can't submit your applications until the application cycle for fall 20 opens up. but you can start preparing your applications. And if you subscribe to our email list, jazztalkslaw.com, you'll receive our free law school application timeline, which breaks down the entire step-by-step process on a timeline of when you should be doing what. So if you want to go fall 20, honestly, if I was working with you, if I was coaching you, if you were in my pre-law masterclass or whatever, like by the summer, everything will be ready to go. How long should an addendum be? Most addendums shouldn't be more than a page. Like, addendums are literally short and sweet. Like, this is what happened. This is what happened. Boom, done. Like, you don't have to do too much detail. Yeah, get straight to the point for your addendum. Law as well as okay to attend a school that's a bit lower rank and transfer. So I would ask, what's your reason for going with a lower ranked school and then transferring? I think a lot of times future lawyers want to settle and just get accepted to law school. I do not agree with that approach. We aren't settling in 2019. I would ask yourself, okay, what can I do so that I don't have to settle? And that if that means you got to take the LSAT again, guess what? We are going to get disciplined and we're going to take that LSAT again. If that means you need to write a better personal statement, boom, you have the workbook now. So I would want to know why you would want to settle for a lower ranked school. And I will also keep in mind, a lot of times when you transfer from law school, you don't get that scholarship package that you might have gotten at that first school. Oh, good. She said the timeline has been a godsend. Happy to hear that. Oh, good question, Jada. Should non-adjudicated cases be discussed in the addendum? Unfortunately, I have to say yes, just to be on the safe side. I would double check with each school you are applying to, but in most cases, you do want to discuss that, even though it's like, okay, but that's not on my record anymore. And it sucks. And it's something that I hope changes soon. But for a lot of schools, they still want you to discuss it. Best LSAT prep. That is something that I discuss in the pre-law masterclass and in the pre-law masterclass workbook. So you'll see there's a whole chart. I break down the top 8 LSAT prep programs. So I would definitely look into those, Glenda. I've not been approved my LSAT score higher than a 140. Can a strong personal statement increase your chances of acceptance? Potentially. I mean, you can always shoot your shot. But my best advice would be, let's figure out how we're going to get a higher LSAT score. And my advice on that is that discipline plus strategy is going to equal the results that you want. You're missing one of them. Maybe you are very disciplined, you're studying a lot, but you're studying wrong. That means you don't have the strategies that you need in place. So that is something that we talk about in the pre-law masterclass. Glenda's taking the March LSAT. So you're saying you'll have to reveal a crime if you write the addendum? Maybe that's something you should email me about. I'm gonna put my email here as well. If anybody does have any other questions they want to take off chat, maybe we can set up like an advising session or something. Guys, just to be respectful of everyone, we're gonna go until 8:30, so y'all have about 8 more minutes. Maximum number of times you take the LSAT. I would say definitely no more than 4 times. I would honestly say no more than 3 times if you're following the approach that I discussed in the pre-law masterclass. All right, guys. Well, this has been great. Do you have any other questions for me? I'm trying to make sure, I didn't miss anything else. Let's see. Okay, I have a few Q&As here. Please address what portion of a personal statement must be backward looking. My past, who I was, what I learned, and forward looking. Yeah, so that will be like the your story portion. So earlier I mentioned your personal statement is, and I discussed this in full detail in the workbook. It's your intro, and then after that, you're going into your story. And that's when you're talking about your past, who you were, what you learned, looking forward, all that type of stuff. How long should our personal statements be? I addressed that earlier. If I purchased a physical copy, do I get a digital copy as well? No. you purchase one or the other. But as soon as if you purchase a digital copy, you get access to that automatically. Obviously, if you get the physical, I'll drop that in the mail for you. Is it too late to start studying for the March LSAT? Yes. Short answer, yes. And that's something I explained in full detail in the pre-law masterclass. After writing a personal statement, how can one work to cut it down to the page limit? You work with me. I'm really good at chopping y'all personal statements down, because what I found is a lot of y'all end up being kind of redundant, or just saying like, or in other words, saying the same thing in like 5 different ways. Or just start like rambling about stuff, or just like going into certain details that you don't need. So I can help you with that, Laura. Okay, how long should you study for the LSAT? It depends. There's no one answer for that. So for example, if you are a full-time employee, you got kids, husband, whatever, you may need to study for a whole year. But if it's just you, and let's say, you know, you're just in college or whatever, you may need like 4 to 6 months. It just really depends. Like there's no one answer for that. But we can definitely figure out how long you should study. And that's something I discussed in the pre-law masterclass. My GPA question, I really want to know how I can bring up my resume. Email me. I'm not sure about that one. I will email you. I thought that the school rep was wrong. I might have to contact the state bar. How can one work to cut down the page limit? Answer that. Okay. All right. No problem, guys. I'm so happy. We had a great turnout tonight. So thank y'all so much. Y'all really give me the motivation I need. You know, I have so many things I'm working on for y'all, and doing things like this just reminds me of why I'm doing it. So thank you. Please, if you don't mind, just spread the word. Tell someone about Jazz Talks Law. Just simply say, I was on this webinar tonight. You should have been there. Share my Instagram at Jazz Talks Law, my Twitter at Jazz Talks Law. Like, share everything. You know, go on one of my Instagram posts and like light it up. Like, just, you know, I appreciate the support. I do this for y'all, and I'm going to keep doing this for y'all. Big shout out to NBLSA. Make sure you check out their membership and join us at one of the symposiums. Make sure you subscribe. And most importantly, make sure you get that workbook before I go to sleep tonight. Get that workbook. Yeah. All right, guys. Y'all have a good evening, and we'll do this again next month. All right.